Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. If you were at the last meeting, and half of you were, we would like to reiterate the gratitude that we feel that you have so many people in this community that care. This is more of these last meetings, more people than collectively have been at board meetings in any 5 years, I think. And so it's refreshing to know. I know we're not agreeing on everything, but I am here to tell you that we have a great district, and I'm pleased to see all these folks and all these faces, and do know that, and many of you have taken the opportunity to contact us. Your public input doesn't happen just right here and right now. It can happen. You can reach any of us, any of the admin teams, or superintendent in a multitude of ways: emails, phone calls, meetings, all of which I know we've all been busy undertaking, and those are very fruitful and very helpful in my experience in the ones I've had in these last 10 days since the previous meeting. So thank you for those. Thank you for speaking up. We're not always going to agree on everything. That's evident, but it's in the interest of improving our kids and making the success that these kids can, the success that the board and the district believes is possible, is the stuff that's important. So thank you again. And with that, we will enter 3.0 items for the public. I do want to let you know that we've got lots of cards, and I'm sure everyone has an opinion and a thought, which is great. We're going to make our best effort to consolidate and not be here to the wee hours. We do have a hard stop in about an hour and a half with our attorney on a phone call, and these meetings you can expect will continue as needed. So these special board meetings or input sessions or community listening groups, you name it. So these are all in play. So know that if you're not heard here tonight or understood here tonight, this is not your last chance. Okay, you rest assured of that. Okay. With that, I would like to open item 3.0 the public. We would ask that you use a microphone. Like the previous meeting, we have per our board bylaws, we have a 3-minute time limit to public comment. It is also in our bylaws that we allow 20 minutes per item. That probably will go over a little bit tonight, especially the public comment, but we want to do our best to get everyone heard. Do not take offense if we can't hear every comment. We do have a couple of item points, discussion points that we need to get to, and then a conference with the legal. So, do we have an order?
There's maps and step parent policies.
Can you clarify what the process is for commenting?
Clarification on the process for commenting is just so we have an order and kind of group by topic. Fill your name out and your area of concern, and we will call those in order. So don't have names on this. Okay, so step parent policy and map testing. I'm straight.
Was that Brenda?
Yes, ma'am. Can we give a microphone to her? There's 2 microphones.
I thought we could start.
You don't have to come up front. You can use the microphone where you are.
I'll sit right here. My main problem is the step parent policy. I am hearing that you guys are no longer going to be contacting step-parents. Is that an old policy that has been reiterated, or what?
Not familiar with, do you want to elaborate on where you're hearing this, or what?
Due to the fact of having a stepdaughter for, 10 years, I have been involved with everything educational as well as after-school activities. I am the number one person to be called for anything and everything due to the fact that my husband isn't always available and the mother can never be reached or is never called back. From my understandings is you guys are now putting step-parents aside and only biological parents are being contacted, whether it's emergency or educational purposes, grades, discipline, etc.
So that's not something that has come to the board level. That's something that I'm going to do some digging for you, and before there's any change, you're going to know about it from us. And that's not. So as Mr. Ray has suggested, to contact the school principal is your chain of command. That's where the information comes.
Okay, thank you. And on the MAPS testing, in my honest opinion, and I'm not alone, there's quite a few mothers that I know personally who do not agree with the MAP testing for the younger ages, K through 4 being mean, due to the fact that they are still young, still learning to actually, for example, my son just started kindergarten a month and a half ago at that. He just started learning and recognizing and being able to handwrite his alphabet and numbers. He's not on a computer for any time at our household due to the fact that too much screen time can cause issues. So why would the MAPS testing be included in K through, say, 4th grade?
Appreciate that input. We're currently looking at that.
Okay.
Thank you. There's another MAPS testing doesn't sound like a good thing.
Not in my opinion.
Sorry, moving on to the next one. Thank you. There was another parent would like plenty of notice. Another parent. You don't have to come forward. You can sit
Okay.
wherever you are. We're not putting you on the spot. And just want to hear it.
Yeah, I guess just for meetings and changes and things, I just would appreciate more time and more notice and notification. And then again, like she said, the maps. My biggest concern is just them being in front of the computer. I'm fairly frustrated with that. Just the fact that they have their laptops and are on them constantly, and I just don't think more screen time is good.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Lisa Coleman, parent, MAP testing.
I know we spent hours, I believe, in the last meeting talking. You were listening to a lot of parents concerned about MAP testing, and since then I know a lot of people have further delved into their own personal research, and mine included coming across, and it's really widely spread. It was something that I was surprised we didn't hear about before, but 2013, Seattle, the entire city's public schools participated in a boycott of MAP testing in, like I said, 2013. It was covered by CNN, Washington Post, and led by teachers there, much like ours, who are concerned with the propriety of this test. And They stated essentially that the test they felt was not aligned with grade level curriculum, so children were being tested on material they had not yet learned, and essentially making that test ineffective. Secondly, the margin of error of the test was so great that the margin itself would prove to be, I don't know how a math teacher would put it, but it itself was greater than any projected student improvement on the test scores. So any results that a student got could actually be negligible due to that margin of error. But really, my question for you is, with this vast knowledge of how negatively received the test is and how ineffective it potentially is, and how many of us in your community, the parents, the teachers, are not supportive of it, how do you feel that it is something that you can continue to support?
So I appreciate the research and data that you've done there. I guess I would echo what I said to Brenda earlier, in that it's our desire to see how we can do better, and if this is a tool that we can use, we're not going to know unless we try it. I said that a couple meetings ago too. I mean, it's been our hope for a long time that we can find measures, and I've talked to many of our talented staff here that they're giving examples of measures they've used. And so, for me personally, I said this 2 meetings ago, I'm willing to reassess and say, yeah, for all these reasons it's not working, but I think as a board we're not at that point yet. We're still in the evaluation mode, and obviously it's not, there's lots of flaws in the finding of it, but I think that most of us all of us are in agreement that our final opinion hasn't been rendered on the map testing.
Hello, my name is Lonnie Tuscany. My husband and I both work in technology every day. He runs the IT department for DWP. I have a nationwide wholesale distribution business. We limit, just by email every week, any type of time our sons even get on our phones. I mean, we have a back end for it, obviously, I have a husband like mine, as well as emails that are sent 30 minutes if they're on my computer. Everything is sent to me via email. This is something that the community should want for the kids. I mean, you're talking about a new generation of technology that's being implemented in a small town. I mean, we're from Orange County, so we use it daily for work. It is a tool. But by using this tool, you're eliminating jobs. You're telling me that our teachers are not able to assess our children. Okay? My son had map testing this morning with Miss Boyd. And when he got in the car, I asked him specifically, Mark, tell me, how was your day? How was the testing? He was under anxiety. So this testing on a computer, you're putting stress on my son, which eventually will lead to possibly going to the hospital under anxiety and stress because of the amount of time that he's on a computer at school and he's not at home. We limit that time at home because we want to socially interact with our children. They need to learn on a visual standpoint. He said the computer said something. I'm like, did you get A, B, C, or D? I don't remember. So on a computer, you cannot, if these programs are not letting them edit their work, then your assessment is a failure. Because you're telling me that on a visual test, my son can get every single one correct. But a program can have faults. My husband wanted to come here today because he understands that map testing, ingenuity, I'm expecting that that's what you guys can continue to do. I, as a parent, want to see certifications. My husband is certified with every program possible. That's another $100,000 that you're going to offer someone a job here for our school. Because you're not going to push my kids back by testing and assessment when I know our teachers can do it themselves. Or you can take start firing all the teachers because that's what you're doing. You're putting them in front of a computer and letting the computer decide what is their skill set. Some kids are going to be great with math. Some are going to be creative with writing. But you're saying overall, this is it. You know, I mean, we've researched this last week. A few teachers know we were actually going to do a meeting specifically to kind of educate the community on what we do with technology and the pros and cons of it. It's only used for a tool. And that is at a high school, college level to prepare them for future jobs, to make our jobs more efficient in a professional setting. But a 6-year-old, you're just trying to comprehend what they're reading right now. You guys are just failing my son. You're not even letting him work directly with the teachers so they can be more motivated. You put them in the computer, now they're under anxiety. They have to find the motivation versus a teacher coming and saying, you can do it.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you. Barbara. And I do, so just by way of reminder you guys that I'm going to call a card, okay, so we're not passing the microphone around, and we are going to stick to the 3 minutes going forward, okay, just so we can accommodate everyone. Barbara Fernandez.
My name is Barbara Fernandez, and I'm the Math Department Chair at Bishop High, and I wanted to talk today about, in reaction to the letter that was sent home to all parents and teachers. The first sentence starts out with Bishop Unified School District is experiencing an epidemic of academic underperformance in our students. And I feel like that sentence is absolutely exaggerated, and it feels like a sentence that is used to move people towards a result out of fear. Those are strong words, and I think it really does not represent what our students are doing. I spoke at the last meeting, and I truly believe our school board is here to help our students. I believe you guys really want to improve our schools, and so do I, and I believe we have room to do that. And I look forward to trying to do that with you as a board. But I do believe that there is some misinformation going out to our community. So I put together some data that I'm going to leave here for audience members to pick up, and I'm going to give to each one of you. And it is, if you pass it along, please. It is regarding our SBAC results. It compares our results over the last 2 years to the state results. And our board is correct that we have a majority of our students who are not meeting standard on the SBAC results. And that is something to think about and to want to improve. But we also are right at our state, the state of California. We have been scoring at the same level, if not better, than the state of California. And given that we are a rural, isolated, small community, I think compared to the state, that is something to take note of. It's not to say, therefore, we don't need to improve, but it is not epidemic low performing. I also on here have included our results in comparison to comparable high schools. I've included Mammoth High, Lancaster, Modoc, Mariposa, and Kern Valley. All of these schools have a similar enrollment with the exception of one, but they all have similar socioeconomic disadvantaged kids, so kind of economic levels, and also EL, English language learners. And when you look at those 5 schools compared to our school, in both English and math, we are meeting, or in 4 out of the 5, we are doing much better. So I just wanted to say again, I do think we need to improve, but I think some of the language being used, both at the last school board meeting and in this letter, is exaggerated and not truly representative of what we've done.
Thanks, Barbara. I understand your ability to take that and how it does seem exaggerated and fear causing. I guess I would summarize my intent in the letter like this. given the quality of the people in this town and the talent in our district, I feel like our success could be much better. It didn't clearly come across that way. Obviously, the way you read it, and many people read it, but that's not. That's I think what our board is feeling. It's just looking at the players on the team and the coaches and the facilities, and I think our record could be so much better. We need to put it in a sports analogy, which I'm not supposed to do. But thank you. Kathy McLaren, letter of support regarding quality on the beef.
Thank you very much. This is a letter that's my opinion. However, I would like to ask that any staff or parents who are here who would like to stand with me in support of our teacher, Henny Solorio, while I read this. You're welcome to stand with me. Thank you. So, Superintendent and Board, I just wanted to take this time to write and read this letter in support of Henny Solorio. I am a third grade teacher on the same team as Henny, and I've worked with him for the last 4 years. We meet weekly at our professional learning community meetings. I have observed in his classroom, and he has provided support to me personally. Henny is a professional and dedicated educator. He is well liked by staff, students, and parents. As a dual language teacher, he works hard to make sure his students are meeting grade level standards in both Spanish and English. He is very collegial and would share resources and time with us, his team members. During my first 2 years in third grade, he would walk over to my classroom to check in with me every couple of weeks to make sure I was comfortable with our new math curriculum. He is our resident math expert, and we knew we could ask him at any time for help with a math question. His door was always open for us to pop in at any time. Henny is a kind, generous, and thoughtful person. When we introduced a book about the dance form capoeira from our reading curriculum, Henny generously taught it to each of our classes. I believe Henny to be a person of great character, and as the charges against him were unfounded by both the police and the DA, I ask that the superintendent and board take into consideration his full tenure with the district in making any decision regarding his employment, and I would ask that he be allowed to return to his teaching position. Respectfully.
Karen Keene, 37-year veteran teacher.
My name is Karen Keene. I was a teacher here for 33 years. I have 37 years of teaching experience altogether. Some of you up there may know me, others of you may not. I'm very concerned about what's going on at this school. I am currently an art docent. I teach art in 6 of the classes. Last year I had 10. And as I said, I've been here for 33 years before I retired. I've never seen a morale so low. I've never seen a teacher so stressed. The number of programs and tests that have been thrust upon them without their okay or without any, I guess, just basic testing or training for giving the test is translated ultimately, although they try not to, translate it to the kids. And that's horrible. As you said, the kids are stressed. I think that you should listen to the teachers. They're the ones who are on the front lines. They're the ones who know where their kids are. And I guarantee you, every one of them knows where their students stand as far as reading and math. And I would encourage you to take into consideration their opinions and their feelings regarding this testing and the programs that have been started this year. Thank you.
My name is Jose Jimenez, everybody know me by Jay. That is my wife. My kids have attended high school since, I don't know where. My kids been straight A students, great in sports. And the only one I got left is my little one. You know, when I woke up home crying because of the decision that you guys make, and you take a teacher that she communicates with, that teacher that helps her through everything she goes through in school. And she's frustrated right now is you're taking teachers away that are people like my wife and I at home. These are the teachers you're taking away from my children. My children trust those teachers. We make mistakes in life. We all make mistakes. You make mistakes. But not because we make a mistake, we don't not throw them in the trash or throw away everything we know and take that away from our children. My little girl loves her teachers. We live next to teachers. They're my neighbors. And we got great people helping our children in our community. And you're taking that away from our children. For my little girl to come home crying because of your decisions is something that I don't agree with. You want a computer instead of teachers. You know, my teachers, my kids, have relied on the children and the teachers like they rely on mom and dad at home. You take away those teachers. Who are they going to rely on? It's something you guys have to think about. You know, we have a saying, most of the Mexican community says, I have you wives, I have you home. Guess what? You're the husband. We are the wife. Okay? We have to take much of an education to understand our community, to understand our children. Without our community, without our children, you guys are nothing. Just like I am without my wife and kids at home. I'm speaking from my heart, and I'm sure most of these folks feel the same way. I hope to God that you guys realize what you're doing to our community and what you're doing to my children. Because in my grades, in the grades of my children are affected because of the decision that you guys make. When you sit in there and make these decisions, making our community and our kids unhappy. That means only one thing, that you guys are not doing your job. Thank you.
John Vallejo.
Hi, and thanks for the opportunity to speak. I just have a few, I think, big picture points that I'm hoping to make. I'm hearing a lot and myself sensing a lot of issues with regard to the communication that's going on between parents, this board, the superintendent, and I think that's reflected in the recent interest in these board meetings. So on that note, well, let me back up a little bit and say, I'm not an education professional. I don't have a personal opinion at this time on the different programs that are at issue, MAPS, the Ingenuity, the dual immersion program, or the AP classes. But I think an important thing that needs to be kept in everybody's mind is for the professionals that are making the decisions, how do you communicate the reasons behind those decisions to the parents and to the community at large? And whose input are you taking for making these decisions? So I would suggest, as I did last time, that your board create citizen advisory committee or committees to study
Think about grade level, his entire school career, and happens to test above grade level with his MAPS testing. I would like to know what that would exactly look like when you factor in Edgenuity. Because you did say AP classes would not be canceled, but Edgenuity does offer tons of AP classes. So I was wondering if that was the plan.
So Trish, I don't have every answer that you may be surprised.
Well, it's part of Mr. Ray's vision. It's a hypothetical.
So what, I mean, it's duly noted. What I'd like and what we'd like as a board is to run these run these scenarios and run them by Mr. Ray, run them by our admin, run them by our teachers, run them by our student community. This is, and I hope based on our action at the table, specifically the ingenuity stuff last time, is that these are all scenarios that we've not visited yet, and that's something that I'd like to put great thought into and solicit the stakeholder involved on.
I will just give my opinion on that. If it did happen, we'd be out.
Thanks, Drew. Jamie and Ryan Gilmore.
I just had a couple of questions. I'm hearing rumors that you're thinking about buying Chromebooks for either the majority of the students or quite a few of them. And I know that there is not a full-time special education teacher on campus, and I also don't believe there is a school psychologist, which would help with kids who need testing and any sort of other possible mental behavioral type of situations. And I was wondering where we are coming up with the funding and why we're doing all these fancy things when you're not even taking into account more of the special needs students. If we don't have the funding for a special education teacher to be on campus for more than half a day, then why are we coming up with money for fancy computers?
Yeah, so we've had Chromebooks for 4 or 5 years now.
For everybody?
For everybody.
Every single student has a Chromebook?
That was the count.
No.
Well, we have one-to-one, is what we call it. So every student has an electronic, but that's been in place since I got here.
No, we're not one-to-one.
So, well, it's a Chromebooks. So the whole Chromebooks that you're speaking of are, we replaced Chromebooks, but we've had, Chromebooks have been in kids' hands for 5 years.
Not for early
Right, but I'm asking about the younger kids. There was a rumor going around that you were going to be getting Chromebooks for K through 12. And I'm just wondering if we have funding for that, then why don't we have funding for a full-time special education teacher? And why are we out of compliance without having a school psychologist?
So I can speak to that because I was here when Chromebooks and the one-to-one initiative began. That was an initiative out of the County Office of Education, and it was fully funded initially by the County Office of Education. And that time, the board that sat here decided that we would put money aside to renew that technology ongoing.
Right, but I'm just saying if we have money for that, then where is the full-time special? I have a son who's autistic, so if during the afternoon he ever needed to go somewhere else that wouldn't be a regular classroom, he would have nowhere to go.
And as far as the school psychologist goes, again, we contract with the County of Ed, which we do for many, many services, as many of the districts in the county do, because we are rural and we're not always able to get people, and so we have to share because of our remoteness. So we have to share.
Okay, and a special education teacher?
I'm not aware that I'm not aware of any part-time special ed teachers. My knowledge is that all of our special ed teachers are full-time.
This is the first year.
Everybody went full-time this year.
Okay, thank you.
Is it like for Michigan? Michelle, or Mike?
So I just had a general question that we asked at the last board meeting. I didn't ask, but I believe it was Josh Nicholson, about the vision from the board about safety issues with our schools. What your vision is, what your plan is, do we have money set aside, and will we continue with the little things that we've been doing that have been helpful
will we continue doing those things? I believe, and I'm not for sure, is Bree McGovern here? Is your sister here?
No, she's working.
Okay, so I believe that Superintendent Ray was sent an email quite a few months ago about what has been done for the safety committee. I can't confirm because I did not send that, so I'm putting that out there. But we'd like to move forward with some of the things that we had scheduled to do or continue on with the discussion. For example, here at the elementary school, one way in, one way out, controlled access to our campus is one very important thing that we've been discussing at the elementary school, as well as visitor passes. There's things that can be bought to identify. You take the driver's license of a visitor, you put it through a machine, they get a printout with their picture that says they're visiting, and it also somehow checks to make sure they're not like on a red flag list. So again, we don't have anything definite, but we'd like to know what the vision is or the plan is in regard to safety. And put it on an agenda of a board meeting sometime, because we continually last year had to ask for it to be put on. So that's it.
I think that we will ask you to get the agenda here. Just a safety discussion at the next meeting, I think is well in order.
And can the committee be?
Are you on the committee?
Yeah.
So who's? I mean, we should be great to get a report
Okay.
from the committee and some recommendations.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Bree McGovern, she is.
Office of Public Safety.
In
Response.
Inyo County?
Disaster response.
Yeah, she works for Inyo County.
She works for Inyo County, and the goal there is that our school actually join with the county, the Bishop PD, that we make some of these decisions with them, if at all possible.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is that your committee meets quarterly?
Yes, and on an as-needed basis, but no.
So, would it inhibit or be possible, since you meet quarterly, could you provide reports and representation at our board meetings after your quarterly meetings so that we're immediately informed and up to speed?
Absolutely, yes.
So we can put that as an ongoing on our agenda items after the quarterly meetings that they will report to the board.
Report directly to a board at the next board meeting. Yep, we can do that.
Yes, on an ongoing, regular basis, as long as it.
Do it constantly.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Karen Thomason.
Hi, I have two grown children that graduated from Bishop Union High School. This is the only district they ever went to school in. I moved here from Orange County. Many of you know my children. One is attending UCLA, the other is at UC Santa Barbara. My question about ingenuity is they both got there with limited technology. They had pens, pencils, and teachers. They speak of their teachers personally. One who taught them to do notes, one who taught them to think outside the box, Quintana, Buchholz. One, they talk about their favorite math teacher, their favorite science from years ago. Neither one of my students are allowed to bring in a laptop to any one of their professors. I have to buy them books, and I have to buy them notepads. As Mrs. Balcony told my son, she held up a pad and she held up a pencil and said, this is your stylus and this is your computer. That's how they live at UCLA and UC Santa Barbara. So I'm wondering, with all this time, how do they learn to take notes? How do they learn to socialize with their professors and their aides? How is ingenuity going to bring that form of success? My children have been very successful here. So that's my question.
Thanks, Karen. As we mentioned earlier, I mean, these are questions that the board is is tackling. And I think it's a good point. Shannon's right next to you.
Hi, I'm Shannon Windsor. I came with the intention to read some letters in response to your letter, Taylor, and also that the board and Mr. Ray reviewed. But then I came up with some comments as you were talking, where you said edgenuity is still something you're investigating, that you're running these scenarios by teachers and the board and administration. But the letter that I'm going to read responses to says part of your solution is edgenuity. So it doesn't feel like it's been tabled to have these conversations. It feels like you're moving forward. So with that said, I'm going to read 2 letters. I have 4 for you, but these people are not here to read them today for you, but they did. Your letter moved far and fast, and I think that Stacy said it well when some of the language was offensive, and I think I need to add to that as when I teach my students in my English class about writing, I tell them, you can't assume I know what your intention or your goal is. You have to make that articulated on paper. And what was articulated on paper had some emotion stirred into it and has now a response. So here's the first letter. It's, Dear Dr. Ludwig, it saddens me that a superintendent new to the area is dividing our tight-knit community and basing the success of our students solely on academic success. I am a graduate of the Bishop schools. I will be the first to admit that my standardized test scores were not the best, but did not hinder me in my future successes. But did that hinder me in my future successes? Absolutely not. I am proud to say that I have an Associate of Arts degree, a Bachelor of Arts degree, and a Master's degree, along with my teaching credential. I did not make it this far due to my standardized test scores. Those scores do not define the success a student can attain. I want you to know that nobody failed me. I succeeded because the teachers, administrators, and the school board at the Bishop schools, as well as parents and community members, believed in me. They taught me the skills I need to be a successful adult. As an educator myself, it is important to remember that each child is an individual and has their own individual strengths. We cannot lump them together and judge them based only on their test scores. When students come back to visit me, it is always to talk about the fun we had in class and how I had a positive impact on their lives. Never once do they mention their test scores.
This concludes public comment, and we're going to move to item 4.0, discussion action items. We have item 4.1, board policy 6146.1, high school graduation requirements. High school graduation requirements, second reading, and I'd like Mr. Ray to lead us on this item.
I put in a card for public comment.
Yeah. Kate? Kate?
Julie.
So Julie, go ahead, please. Oh, favor? Julie, favor? Okay.
I just had a couple quick things. I'm Julie Faber. Hi. One is on the open seat process. I just want to make sure that it's clear who the applicants are that you receive, so that we can communicate with you as a board on our opinions, I guess, prior to the appointment. Next is, it is my understanding just from talking to teachers that it's typically protocol to run a lot of these programs like Maps and Ingenuity through pilot programs, and I'm wondering why this is being implemented across the board.
And lastly, actually, I have two more things really quick. As far as the DLAP, that has been for the last few years a yearly meeting, and I would like to request that it be a quarterly. And lastly, I have my notes. From the first board meeting, the first week of school, it was explained that the reason for decreased instruction time at the elementary school, shorter days in 4th and 5th grade, was because of 2 teachers, PE and art, were now being used to have whole classes, and thereby decreasing the size of classrooms. And it is, to my understanding, right now the PE teacher and art teachers do not, in fact, have their own classrooms and are being used as aides. And I would like to know why.
I'm going to have Mr. Ray address a couple of those things. The process again that we're using to select and what is required to appoint a board member, and so actually about MAPS pilot, and in the board's mind, that's what we're undertaking right now. Is we're seeing if this is something that fits, a tool that fits our district, that replace anyone, doesn't replace any teachers, but fits for what we do, and receive feedback on that process. But I'll let you comment on the how we do the process going to teachers.
So on the appointment process, there is a screening requirement that is not open to the public, because the only screening that takes place is the candidate is actually eligible to hold a public office. So you have to meet certain criteria, that you live in the area and able to vote, and those haven't been taken away from you. Everything else will happen in public. So we'll happen during the October meeting, so every candidate's application will be available for the public to view, and any questions that the board wants to ask any candidate has to be done in public, and any deliberation between the board has to be done in the public.
When will those names be made aware of? When will the board be made aware of those names?
Of the eligibility?
Of the list of candidates. So my question, Mr. Ray, is when will the board and the public find out who is on the list of people that have requested applications to the board?
Not until we post the agenda, which is the minimum requirement is 72 hours before the board meeting. We like to do it earlier than that. So our deadline, we're trying to get the agenda posted basically 2 Wednesdays before the meeting.
So it's my understanding that in the past, the board has been able to deliberate in closed session?
No, you have to deliberate in open when appointing a candidate.
And that's according to
The law.
Well, we've done appointments before, and the process was a little bit different. So I want to make sure that we're doing it above board and according to the law, not for any other reason.
So, as far as the schedule and shortening of the day, there's a lot involved here. I don't think I can cover that in the time allotted. I do know that your principals do have that information, or you can set up an appointment with me where I can go over the data on that, unless you want to do something with the agenda. Let me try to go into it right now.
Yes, please.
So I would follow Mr. Ray's advice. We can talk to principals or set up time to talk to Mr. Ray. We're going to move into item 4.1 or 4.0 now. To start talking about our graduation requirements, our second reading.
What about the PE teacher teacher and our teacher.
That's stuff we can talk to your principal about and come talk to Mr. Ray about. But right now with the board, excuse me. Okay, this is our chance. The board's not talked or discussed any of these things that you are mentioning with each other because by law we can't. So this is our time to gather input and discuss what's on the agenda. And so we're going to move into that time.
Dr. Ludwig, if you don't mind, I would like to request a very, very hard 5-minute discussion from Mr. Ray about the teachers.
So yes, the PE teacher and the visual and performing art teacher do not have their own assigned classroom. There was a teacher that was assigned, a teacher on special assignment, what we referred to as another, what we call Title I teacher, that did come back and take a regular class load. What we can't do is we cannot sustain lower class sizes and extracurricular at the elementary level. We have to make a decision whether it's lower class sizes or these extracurricular opportunities to serve all the students. And so the decision and the guidance is that first and foremost is to lower class sizes. Therefore, that was the decision to rearrange the schedule to accommodate those lower class sizes.
But has that happened? No.
It is happening. We do have, this was our first step in making that happen, and we do have lower class sizes than we did last year.
Why weren't they given the class? Why do you hire a different person?
That's a personnel matter that we can't discuss. Okay, we're going to move back to 4.0 discussion action items. 4.1 is board policy 6146.1, high school graduation requirements, and our second reading, Mr. Ray.
Yes, our two high school administrators have begun their research and their quest for information as well as input to help us make a decision on there. So I'd love for them to have a chance to grab the microphone and speak. Katie, you have submitted a document for us in discovering that. So Mr. Kolk and Ms. Kolker, if you don't mind taking the mic and let us know what you discovered.
I can kick it off. So what we provided the board was a spreadsheet of graduation requirements by program or by school. So Bishop High School, Palisade Bishop High School, Bishop Independence High School, Keith Wright School. Maybe you all didn't know we have 4 high schools in our district. We do. JKES, which is our community school in the county office, the California minimum state requirements, and the adult ed program, which is local to us in Monroe County. So those credit requirements are all on the sheet provided to the board. If anyone's interested, I'm happy to share. It's all public information. It's what's currently in place in terms of current practice. And so on behalf of the alternative ed schools, we'd like to keep our current graduation requirements, including the capstone course for Palisade Bishop High School and Bishop Independence High School. We feel like it's a value to our graduates in our program.
So I would concur with Ms. Kolker. I've sent a copy of what we proposed as board policy to replace the boilerplate language we currently have. The requirements that we're asking for, the same requirements that the students who've been going through our school for the last 4 years have been asked to complete. That includes 3 years of math, 4 years of English, 2 years of science. A few others that I think are very important that we include would be the 20 hours of community service, 5 units of Success 101. Some of my teachers are here today to answer questions about that. It's a similar program to what Ms. Kolker offers at Palisades, the capstone course. Our Success course actually runs 4 years, 1 semester for the freshmen, and then the 3 following years they each get what's considered a module. And all of them are designed to focus our students on what they want to do after high school and what it's going to take to get there. We've added 20 hours of homeroom, which is 5 units per year. And during that homeroom time, their sophomore, junior, and senior year, they will complete those modules. And so we have a minimum requirement that meets the state regulations or state guidelines, and we've added, to complete the total number of units, which is 250, they have to add 70 units of electives to their coursework throughout the 4 years. And that allows them, because they can, without taking any additional courses, get 260 units. That allows them 1 year or 2 semesters worth of no credit, meaning they could fail an elective, a non-required course, and still graduate. They could do that twice. So there's a little buffer between what they actually take over the course of their 4 years and what they're required. It's just 10 units, but we still require 250. And having looked around the state, I noticed that our requirements are actually 20 to 30 credits higher than a lot of other districts in our state, which I think raises the bar for our kids. And so I'm in full support of what we've been advertising for the last 5 years. And that's what the language we've given to the board, and that we would request that the board votes on to approve.
Sorry, one more. Just one more quick thing. I noticed in our current board policy, which we're looking at today, it didn't mention community service, but we do have a separate board policy mentioning the community service, 6142 point something or other, that talks about 5 community service hours each of the 4 years of high school. It does specify Bishop Union High School only at this time, so my request would be that we add our alternative ed schools to that as well.
Mike.
Thank you. Okay, Mike.
Hang on, though.
Katie, logistically speaking, would there be any reason why any of the alternative, so independently, kids that are traveling, would the community service be unreasonable or difficult?
It's what we currently have in place.
Get used to this. It's what we currently have in place. We don't have a community service requirement for Keith Bright School at this time, and that makes sense because it was in the juvenile facility previous to it being closed. So we never added it on. But currently, for Pally and Bishop Independent Study Kids, we have the 20 hours, which is included in our capstone course. So it's been in place now for at least since I've been here.
Just a quick question about board policy document. You have a section on retroactive diplomas, and it states that any student who completed grade 12 in the years 2003 to 2015 and met all the requirements except passing the KC would be granted a high school diploma. I know during that time, sometimes students did not pass the KC and didn't get a diploma. Are these students, is our district notifying those students of this opportunity? Can we add that to part of this equation?
Yes,
I think Ms. Anderson and I can both speak to that. I know we've received some of the students at Palisades, but I'll give it over to Ms. Anderson.
Sure, when that law came into effect, Wanda Summers put an ad in the newspaper, and we reached out to the students that we knew individually who didn't walk away with the diploma. The diplomas are in storage. We have them prepared to hand to students who meet those qualifications. And we did hand out some. We did put some in the right hands, but there were some students that haven't come forward for those.
I have a question about the capstone. So my understanding, according to this spreadsheet, is they actually get 10 credits for the capstone completion. So, Mr. Paul, my question would be, have we ever considered including that at the high school?
when we implemented Success in 2014, the capstone was not a consideration at that time. We were looking for a course that served the needs of the students at our school. That more than half of our students have, they come from a place where the families can't support the direction that they want to take the way that other families can. So this program that we chose was designed to fit and help those kids make those decisions on their own. I'm not sure the capstone is a replacement for Success. I think the fact that capstone, I think, is a senior project, am I right, Katie? Whereas the Success program is a program that they work on a 10-year plan over the course of 4 years. And frankly, I think probably the best person to address that would be Ms. Kress. And I know she put a card in, I think she said. Is this appropriate to have her talk? Sure.
Well, can I finish my question?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. So I'm not even remotely talking about replacing Success. I do know that we right now do a portfolio project that is not a requirement and carries no credit with it. And so my question is, would capstone work alongside our Success program?
I'm not sure I can answer that question. I don't know enough about capstone. But Ms.
I would like to actually pursue this more at a different time because I would like more information on all of that. So that, because Success is a good program and I want to make sure that we're gleaning everything that we can for the very students that you're talking about, but for every single student. So I would like a lot more information and research on all of the availabilities that we have for those types of programs for our students as we move forward so we make the best informed decision. And I'd also like input from teachers, students, and parents because these affect parents too.
John.
Yeah, Katie, go pursue your comments and
Thank you. Okay, right here. So I have some copies for you guys. Just take one, pass it down. And then I also have copies for the rest of you. Well, not for everybody, but anybody that's interested. We do have a Success program on our campus. A lot of you know what it is. A lot of you have no idea what it is. And I'm sure you've heard about it in one form or another, whether it was positive or negative or somewhere in the middle. But for the last month or so, I have thought a lot about this, and I know the rest of our Success teachers have as well. And I think the hardest part is not knowing what's happening on the other end. So we're hearing things, I'm hearing things from students, I'm hearing things from parents and other teachers, and it's frightening and it's bizarre. So I guess that is it's kind of difficult. So I'm not sure what you guys are thinking. So I'm just going to kind of lay it out. I don't want to be up here forever. But this program reaches every single one of our students. And there is a letter attached on the back from a student who just got a job at Chevy today. He's been at UTI for 1 semester. And he wrote a little bit about how Success helped him. Granted, it's one student. I also have another letter that I was going to read, but for sake of time, I may still read it. It's really awesome. She is at the University of Washington, and she talks a whole bunch about how she would not be where she's at. So it's not just for the kids who don't have any idea or don't have parents who are supportive. It's for every one of our students. And I can't tell you how many times we see students and hear them say, I've got this figured out. And they're freshmen. They don't have it figured out. And sometimes their parents think they have it figured out, but there's more to it. And it gives them time to think. And I have to say, we feel very strongly about this program because we are in it every day. And we get to see those really cool faces and oh my gosh moments like, this is it for me. And to hear that it might be replaced, I don't know if that's even has been considered, but if it is, I just, I really encourage you to come and talk to us. Because, for example, that project that just was brought up, we don't do that anymore. Like, that's not even something we do. So I would appreciate it if, please, if you would come and speak to the teachers before it comes to the table. Like, I don't even know where that came from. So that's something we used to do. Every year we are trying our best to get student input, to get parent input, to get other teachers input, to make this the best program we can. And I sure wouldn't be standing up here in front of all of you if I did not believe in this program. And the teachers that teach it, we only have 4 of us. And if we try to put this into other classrooms like they do in other high schools, it's going to fail. And it has to be, I know it's not perfect in homeroom. It's not. We're rushing. It's 25 minutes to do a lesson. It's like crazy. But it's all we have. And we're in the mindset right now that something is better than nothing for a lot of these kids. And you can tell me all day that my student knows exactly what they're doing. Well, your student could help other students or encourage them. Or maybe research where they want to live. Or maybe how much it costs to live there. Or, bigger question, does the college even offer what you want? I mean, there's so much to it. And I need to shut up now because I could go on about this all day. But I don't Annette can talk to you, and so can Kelly. But we are very passionate about this program. And I don't, I heard that about different students doing, not wanting to do it. But I've heard different students say they don't want to take science, or math, or English, or whatever. I mean, it's high school. We're not going to reach 100% of our students every day, but we're going to try at the White Cup.
Hey. Can you clarify for me the sort of junior interviews and the...
Yeah, that's what I want to talk about just for a minute. So I want to mention 2 things.
I appreciate that. That's all I was.
That's all on there.
Thank you.
So I'm Annette Holland, and I'm part of the Success Program. And to tell you the truth, I didn't know how much I am passionate about this program until I thought it might be removed. And then I was like, oh my gosh, we can't lose this. So I just wanted to add 2 things. I don't really know what the capstone project is about either. But I just wanted to say we have a culminating activity for each grade level. So 9th grade students have a mock interview, a mock job interview. It's among their peers, and that's in your handout. 10th graders, we're working on a project for them where they would job shadow. And if they can't go out and job shadow, at least they would conduct a phone interview with somebody from the community doing already in a field they're interested in, and sometimes that's a deal breaker, like I didn't know how boring that was going to be, or whatever. So then they can go on to their junior year, and 11th graders, the culminating activity is a mock interview with actually someone from the community. We try to pair them with someone in that field who can interview them, and that's been very successful for students. And then the senior culminating activity, last year we did sort of an exit interview. This year we're doing something, working on something totally different where they would present a slideshow to a panel of community members that would explain what they want to do, how they're going to get there, where they're going to go, and what their values are. So that's what we're working on. And I also wanted to say, as far as listening to the students and the family members, we did listen to the seniors, and last year we implemented, instead of putting them into heterogeneous groups with each of the 4 of us first quarter, we now survey them and find out what their plan is after high school. So for example, so now they're in homogeneous groups. So for example, I'm teaching the students interested in going to a community college with the intent to transfer or go to the workforce after 2 years. And then we have 2 sections of 4-year students going on to a 4-year college or university. And we have 1 section of students who are interested in going in either the military, trade school, or straight to the workforce. So we have listened to students when it comes to that, and I think that's been very successful. In my experience, kids feel like we're talking more to what's important to them instead of trying to cover 6 spaces in one half-hour period. So I just wanted to mention those things.
I've asked Mr. Ray to clarify the rumor about removing this program.
Yeah, no one has recommended or proposed the removing of the Success Program. So the reason why it's here being discussed is because we cannot hold kids and families accountable to being this a requirement for graduation if it is not in our policy. It is not in our current policy. Therefore, that's why it's being discussed, so whether it should be in our policy or should not be in our policy or should we amend it. Again, no one has recommended the removal of the program. We cannot hold it as a requirement because it's not in our policy.
Kelly, make motion. Or Kate. Claudia.
Kentucky. First question, the recommendation that you're currently making, that would there be any students not included or that wouldn't be able to participate the way you are, the way you're proposing, or you're based on your recommendation?
No, as far as I'm concerned, no. There's no.
So all high school
for every
students
student.
would be part of this program?
Yes, sorry, your question caught me expressly. You mean, yes.
No, I'm
sorry.
Yeah. Okay, and then, I don't know if this is a question or a comment, but one of the things that I did get to do last spring was to attend both the interview sessions for juniors and seniors for Bishop Union High School for this program, and also the capstone exit interview for Palisades. Yes, they are different programs, but they do share a lot of similarities. They share scenarios. The time frame is different. For capstone, the goal setting is 5 years. For 2 years. Shorter. And for the Success 101, it would be a 10-year plan. They're still valuable, I believe, even though they're different. Anybody would want to elaborate on Capstone Cares Care? Yeah. But would there be any recommendation for credit for the success, for the modules of success, which would be the sophomore, junior, and senior years?
Yes, I would like to recommend that it be a graduation requirement, absolutely. Otherwise, I mean, it's like any other class. How do we have buy-in? I mean, it's great and all. We can all say all of our classes are great, but yes, we absolutely want to recommend that it be a graduation requirement. All 4 years.
The question is, so the credit would be earned during homeroom? Or when would the credit be earned?
Yes, during homeroom.
Okay.
1 quarter, it's not the whole. So, sorry. On the paper on the very front, you'll see that we really only see each grade for approximately 15 hours total. That's it. It's not the whole year, it's 15 hours. So we get 30 homeroom periods to smash as much in as we can, and then they're gone. So it's for 1 quarter. We do the grading for that quarter, and it's during homeroom. So we just pull them from their homeroom period, and then after the quarter, they go right back. So they still have 3 quarters of homeroom.
So in this quarter of homeroom, if they have test projects and other things that homeroom is actually one of the main intentions, what are they supposed to do?
Well, I guess we can go way back to what homeroom was really for. And yes, we do have intervention and we do have things going on during homeroom. For that quarter, the students have managed to do really well at figuring out that they can go in at lunch, they go in before school, they go in after school, and 30 minutes is really hard to make up a test, or 25 by the time you get there. It's hard to make up a test in 25 minutes. And so I think that part has been great. Our teachers have been very, very understanding. The students have been understanding. And during that semester, that quarter, they have managed to manage their time and get their stuff done. So, yeah, they get their homework done at home and do their tests on their own time.
I go back to my original request of input from students to the board and from parents to the board, because those are the two that are going to be at a future board meeting, because those are the two, I say that our students are our number one stakeholders. It is their lives and their futures that we are trying to impact. Parents are the second most important stakeholders because they're going to be with them even when they're gone from us. So those are two groups that I very much like to hear across the board, negative, positive, indifferent. I really want to hear from them. Because I've seen the capstone projects, I've been in on the senior portfolios, which, I mean, you said that that's no longer going on, but my understanding is that it is still happening. So I want us to make an informed decision across the board. Because this is a good program. It's an important program. It's a necessity. It's a necessity to our students because we are rural and our kids don't have the access that kids in larger cities do have to visit and to talk to. And so we need to give them the best foot forward that we possibly can, no matter which school they're attending. It's not about a good, it's not about a bad, it's not about better. There's just differences, and I want to understand those differences before we impose them on people. Because I also would like to hear feedback on the community service. We've had that in place for several years now. I believe we're in our 7th year of that. We don't have a lot of feedback on how that's going, how it's been implemented, how parents feel about having to drag their kids to different activities to fulfill these requirements. What is its effectiveness? I see this as an opportunity to revisit these things and make sure that they are in the best interest of our students and their futures. So.
Katie, how long is the capstone? Is it 3 years, 4 years?
This is going into our 4th year. Yeah.
I guess I would echo Trina. It feels like there's a happy hybrid somewhere between success and capstone. And I'm wondering if we can explore how that would look. I mean, it feels like they're very similar, just to names and maybe a few parameters are different.
Okay. So is there something that's up with success that I'm missing? Like I feel like we're trying to make some sort of in between here. Like we've been going for 6 years and we're willing to make it better, but I'm feeling like I've never even heard of
nothing.
So
no pretense at all. I actually have not been. This is the first bullet point explanation of success I've had as a worker for 5 years. So this is great, and I've participated in all the junior interviews and senior interviews.
No, you're awesome.
Personally, I've done all that. And so, but I didn't really ever ask the question.
Yeah.
What is it and how? And I remember when Katie brought the caption, I started about when I came on. She said, a lot of high schools are doing this, and maybe someday we look at it as a. So that as we're sitting here, that's the thoughts that are
and again, we're happy to sit down and talk about ideas and what we could do that's helpful or different.
It may not work. We were just saying, right? I mean, there's some other parameters that we're gonna have to think about. Not every kid's gonna be able to do the success type program or the capstone. When we're looking at all of our high schools. You know, so obviously, keep right. Obviously, there's an open space there for this kind of requirement. I'm wondering if that's something we look at as well. So no target, Katie, on the ambition. I'm learning from you. Comments?
So I'm Taylor McCormick. I can't remember if I introduced myself last time, but I'm a senior. And I'm not gonna lie when I told everyone that I liked Success freshman sophomore year, because I didn't. I thought that it was pointless because I didn't know what I was gonna do, but at the same time it did help me evaluate what I wanted, and it gave me a dedicated time. And I do strongly believe that it should be a graduation requirement because it is a dedicated time for everything. And, you know, it's helped me, it's helped others. Like I said last time, it's helped you get a letter of recognition, a resume. So when you can leave high school, you have all of that. You don't need to use your time. You could go to work and make money, and then you have that ready to go. And I just think it really helps a lot, and it puts a lot of thought into your brain about what you should be thinking about. And just like Ms. Kress said, it is high school. Like, it's time to think about the real world. Like, we have our parents helping us now, but what happens after high school? Yeah, we still have support, but we are an adult. Like, this high school is the end, and we are going into life. We need to know the costs of things. We need to know where we're going to be living, what courses we need to take, and that's what Success has planned out. You know, it lays it out for us. So.
I saw this hand first. We'll take just a few more comments. Second hand. Go ahead.
I just, as a Success teacher, I went to a training in Carpinteria, and they were explaining that Santa Barbara City College actually started this entire program because so many students were showing up at college with no idea of cost, no idea of what direction they're going, no idea of what the process was, and they were taking 5, 6, 7, 8 years in a 2-year college, and it was becoming a serious, serious problem. So a group got together and decided, what can we do to change this? How can we help students in high school get prepared so that when they do go out into the world, they are, you know, maybe not completely put together, none of us are, but on their feet. They understand what's out there. They understand a little bit more how to navigate not only school, but jobs, interviews, life. And I think that's really, really important to remember when thinking about this program. You know, it's not always perfect, and we work really hard to change it as we go to fit a little bit more. But the primary purpose for it and the reason it was created was to help people navigate this world and take a little bit less money and a little bit less time getting to where they need to go. So I thought that was important to mention.
Just a moment here. So, board members, any other comments here? Interim. So, my recommendation would be that we direct Mr. Ray to form a committee to look and talk to not just Andrew, but talk to the stakeholders. Maybe meet with the students, meet with stakeholders, parents, and get. So, because Barbara, we established last meeting, the students here, I think we can only miss that if we rush this, because students that are going to graduate this year are operating under current board policy. Correct. Is that correct? So, whether we approve something now versus December, January, the effect is no different on the student. Correct? Opposed?
We're looking for the mic.
I just wanted to make a comment, and this is a 200% plug for Ms. Kress and all the other teachers and the Success Program. I'm a parent of a current 10th grader. My son last year had Ms. Kress for his Success class, and he's an excellent student and highly motivated and does school very, very well. He's very responsible. And the irony there is that the real life stuff can be elusive, and I thought this class was excellent in introducing the real life stuff, and you said it so well. As a student, it's dedicated time to actually learn the life skills that are very important, and because I thought these were such valuable lessons, I kept all the essays on rent and mortgage and what you would do if you had this job and if you had this much money and what kind of an apartment could you afford, and they were on our fridge for a very long time because I thought these were very valuable lessons for him to learn. And I'm convinced that because he was required to write a resume and cover letter in this class, it's the reason why he has a job now. And I'm very proud that he's working in our community. So I do feel it's an extremely important class, and I hope that you guys see that too. And hopefully it is a graduation requirement, because we should give these kinds of skills to our students so they can know how to manage money and make it. Just a note on your asking about community service, I also think that's an incredibly valuable element for our students to delve into, and I think that more should be required, and I know that students might scoff at that, but as a parent and a community member, I thought it was it's an awesome requirement. I feel like we should be doing more for our community and more selfless service so everyone can connect with others and see the value in that and giving back. So having it as a requirement is a wonderful thing.
Rosa, I'm glad this will be the last comment, and we need to move on to 4.2.
So I just want to talk for a moment about what the policy actually says, which is that this is at least the requirement for a high school diploma. And I think in terms of communication, especially at our site, we spend a lot of time talking to the kids about the transcripts. We show them what is required to graduate from our school. I know the guidance department at high school does the same. So the kids have been made aware of what their requirements are to graduate from the specific high schools in which they're enrolled. So to say that this board policy is saying that this is what you must at least do sounds to me like a nod to what the minimum requirement is. And given that it transparently said that the at least requirement for English is 30 credits for who knows how long, I have a hard time believing that we can't say that our kids are aware of what the requirement is and to hold them accountable to that for our WASP accredited diplomas, which is what the WASP committee saw, which is why a lot of our schools have been accredited.
I can comment on our specific policy that kind of echoes the Ed Code. So the Ed Code doesn't go into units, local school district, or credits. Local school districts get to define that. The Ed Code and our board policy says it has to be a year-long course. So that's the definition of it, and we can assign whatever appropriate credits that we feel are easy. The Ed Code says these are the minimum for the state of California, but local school boards have the authority to require more. However, that has to be a local school board decision. It has to be reflected in a policy before we can hold kids and families accountable to that. It can't be up to a school site. It has to go through the school board.
So the direction is to explore further with the subcommittee on what these requirements will look like.
4.2, communication between the superintendent and the Bishop Unified Board of Trustees, Bishop Unified School District Board of Trustees. This is a discussion point.
So I actually have two very pointed things that I want to ask for.
Closer, Trina, please.
Okay, I'll try, but everybody in this room knows.
Just hold the mic a little closer to you.
So you want me to hold it?
Yes.
Thank you, Kathy. I miss you. And I miss you too, Eric. So the two very pointed things that I want to ask for, and this is based on my own assessment of the breakdown in communication that I believe has happened in the last few months, and based on the relationships with staff that I value highly, that I've developed over the years, and with the community that I value, with parents and students. The first request is that at a meeting like this, I don't think that we're going to solve the world's problems in a short amount of time. So I would request that this board schedule a workshop. We do these from time to time throughout the year. Usually we have 2, maybe 3, where we discuss our goals, where we discuss direction, where we discuss different things for the district. But I would like to request a workshop specifically centered around communication and how we can improve it, and how we can continue to improve it, and how we can be accountable for making sure that it happens, so that this kind of a breakdown does not happen in this district again. Because the unity that we have here is far too precious to sacrifice on a misunderstanding. The second request is for Mr. Ray and his administrative team. I would like a timeline for our staff members where they will have a complete understanding of how long MAPS has been being discussed, when it was decided that we would try it, what the purpose of it is, what the results mean in relation to SBAC scores, because no, test is not the only measurement of a student, but it is very much tied to the funding. And it is very much what drives our decisions, unfortunately. We know it's the whole child, but at a state level, they want numbers, and those are the numbers that they accept. And I want to know when the staff will know what the results are, what they mean, and what we expect them to do with them.
For my part, I would acknowledge what most of this room has said and has thought and has come to hear is that no, we're not off on a great start communication wise, and that from my standpoint, and as Trina has elaborated, can only improve at this point. And I think that the stakes are too high to not. And so I would echo Trina's requests, and I would say that that there is a vision and there is a plan, but that's not just these 4 or 5 individuals up here. That's this whole room, and I want the community to know that we're not. We haven't gone away from what we've done before. We have new personnel at the helm, but we're still the same, driven by the same things that put us on this board at the beginning, which is to see our kids succeed and to find out what the best way that is that we can achieve that. And so, this would be a public moment of pause to say we can do better and we owe it to you to do better.
intend to do that.
I agree with my fellow members, and as a new board member, I'm learning a lot. And I will say, as a parent, I started as a parent, and then I volunteered in the classroom. And once you volunteer in the classroom, you learn a lot more from the teachers, from the students. And then for some reason, you get volunteering in other things, and art docent and school study councils, and you get to learn a little bit more and a little bit more. I learned that most of the time, all the time, if you knock on a door, whether it's a teacher, a principal, superintendent, a board member, we will make time to discuss things, to listen. I thought some doors should be closed, but then you just need to knock and ask questions. It's okay. Just like we tell our students, it's okay to ask questions. It's okay to have comments. It's okay to have thoughts. I'm open. I will say we may not agree on some things, but I will listen. This last month, my phone has been ringing, my email has been pretty active, and I will try to make time. But we all have to communicate. Yes, it starts with us. We've talked about accountability, and I mentioned accountability starts with us. I will hold my fellow board members are accountable when it comes to communication. And I invite everybody to continue to communicate, to continue to come to board meetings and listen to each other.
Well, pretty much everything was said already. I agree with my team also. But also, we need to remember parents and students. They are the reason that we're here, basically students. And when they don't get communicated what's going to happen, it carries a lot of chaos. And we have a hard time. I was answering emails at 4:30 in the morning. So, yeah, but I don't mind. If you need to communicate anything, you know, where to reach us, how to reach us, send us an email. On my part, I will try my best to at least acknowledge that I received your email. Okay?
One more thought that I had leading up to this board meeting, it's something I've said publicly a few times this year, and it sort of dovetails into a now regret that I have is that you know, whoever was here at our meetings earlier this year, I had said, you know, there's so much awesome things happening in this district that we need to recognize. We always have that recognition point. Some days it goes unfulfilled, we just kind of pass on, no one recognizes that. I think is a travesty. So, also in response to some of the voices I've heard tonight, this is an amazing district, and I do believe that, and I regret that we have not taken more time in these meetings to highlight. I've had a lot of emails from great kids who are doing great things, as well as your children who are out doing great things, Kim, and so, or Lisa, excuse me. So, you know, that is something that I would like to commit to going forward is you know, this is not about failure. This is about the successes that we've had and making more of those successes a reality. So, formally, you know, I've directed Mr. Ray, you know, to let's go find these things from teachers, from site personnel. There's a lot that needs to be highlighted, and no better place to do it than a public setting with all of this type of community engagement here. Oh, and the other thought I had too, and I said this last time, but there's more people here this time. So one tool that's new that if you haven't been to a school board meeting in a while, you may not know of is our health cap survey, which your students, teachers should have for you in the spring, but also it's available on our website. I think it's on the radio and the Aries, Facebook, and
So an LCAP survey is a community tool to give your opinion, and it's tied to our fund, directly tied to our funding model, and it helps greatly. We've had about 80 replies last couple of years. I can't remember exactly. Don't hold me to the number, but very few percentage-wise replies, and that's a tool that we can use.
And to piggyback on that, for anyone who doesn't know what the acronym means, it's your local control accountability plan. And every single word in that carries power. And that is in our parents and in our community members. And when we're getting 80 responses, when we're getting 34 responses.
In the past, we asked parents to complete them at parent-teacher conference time, but that's a policy that's been set aside. So if you asked us to ask the parents to do it again, we would.
Well, and we're asking parents, you're showing up to these meetings because you care about your kids, you care about their education, you care about where it's going. And part of that is our LCAP because it is directly tied to the funding, which is the resource that we have. And so it is an important piece. It's not the only piece, but it is an important piece. So please read that and respond. So I've asked for a workshop, and I would remind everybody that those are public meetings as well. Actually, they're meetings in public. So if you would like to come and observe how we interact as a board, how we have discussions as a board outside of this particular setting, I would welcome it. Yeah, how we interact with our superintendents, how we have those hard conversations. Not just here, in the workshops that are long, they're arduous, they're always open to the public. So I invite you.
Are those during the school day? Like the time when you're working?
Well, it often depends on our work schedules because we do have jobs that we take time away from, like everybody else to do that. And when it's hours, usually they last anywhere from 2 to 4 hours, depending on the issues that we're discussing at the time, because often it involves our administrators as well. It depends on when we can collectively gather.
Those are on the school website as to when those are?
Every agenda for every public meeting is published.
Are there minutes for those workshops? Yeah, and are those posted on the website as well?
Yes.
So the workshop you had at the beginning of the summer when Mr. Ray came on board, those minutes are on the website? They should be.
They're on.
Marty?
No, I didn't do that. Sorry, I'm learning all what I'm supposed to be putting on the website. I apologize.
I'm sorry, we couldn't hear you, Marty.
They will be.
They're not on the website, but they are available.
They will be available. Well, they're available. They're just not on the website.
They're available.
I can email them to her. No, you can post them on the website.
They'll be posted on the website.
Thank you.
Yeah, what happens is that it was another person.
Oh, no, I know.
Marty.
Yeah, no, she's learning. That's fine. Yeah, it was just a question. Wasn't a criticism, it was a question.
Community members respond, we have to be really specific and really clear in our communication about where they can find it, and that is on the website, not through classroom teachers.
Thanks, Amy. Yeah, so, and that's something that is in our effort to improve our communication. That's absolutely something that we'll discuss. In fact, in my mind, everything, as Marty's learning and as we're coming together in this effort, I think everything should be on the website. And I know she has access to Facebook right away. So as many ways as we can, we're going to keep this communication
great, you're actually answering the question I was going to have. We communicate, or I've seen a lot more communication lately through text and email, but as far as meetings go, I've always only heard about it because of the board I've been on, and so I don't know how the rest of the parents or communities find out about meetings and special meetings, workshops. So if we could utilize those as a way of communicating with us as well as just the website, because a lot of times people aren't going to go to the website to look for those, but if it's being sent out through a text, like we've gotten a lot of messages recently, I think that would be really useful.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. Yeah, that will be something we have to do. With that, we move into closed session at 5.0. Thank you, everybody, for being here.